I've been getting on my BNB and stacking these. Pairing it with EMP and then a middle piece. How to get myself a bag before the bull run. How to take some Misha, stick it in the bull. I've been getting on my BNB and stacking these. Pairing it with EMP and then a middle piece. How to get myself a bag before the bull run. How to take some Misha, stick it in the bull. E-pop got me waiting 3 more hours. Sticking all these years higher than a tower. Having all these nodes feel like superpowers. Investing all this bread, never been a coward. Call me Mr. Bond, money in the vault. I stay in the front, feeling like the goal. Don't worry about the haters, got the detonator. I'll kill in every market, call me Terminator. I've been getting on my BNB and stacking these. Pairing it with EMP and then a metal piece. How to get myself a bag before the bull run. How to take some Misha, stick it in the bull. I've been getting on my BNB and stacking these. Pairing it with EMP and then a metal piece. How to get myself a bag before the bull run. How to take some Misha, stick it in the bull.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to EMP.Money. My name is AJ, I am the team lead here, and this is our bi-weekly AMA. Again, another crazy week at EMP and the markets overall. We're going to get into some updates, some more questions answered. Going to try to make it another somewhat short one today. The last few AMAs have been over 2 hours about. So, going to try and keep it clear and concise. Hopefully give some updates as well, and just overall market conditions, and just a good old chat with everybody. So it is only me today. I am joined by Cody, however. Cody, are you there?
I am. How are you?
Good, brother. Awesome. So yeah, LA was busy with other commitments today, so it's just the boys. Cody and I. Cody has been again a major architect in Fusion, and again can answer questions a little bit more in depth, hopefully later on, and what else we've been working on. So before we get into all that, I just want to give some updates. We are happy to answer questions. Please feel free to type it in the chat on YouTube, or if you would like to speak on voice, we can get to that at the very end. We'll open up the voice chat as well. But really, I mean, we've seen a major pullback on EMP and ESHARE this week. Unfortunately, some long-term players maybe just don't get Fusion or don't see the vision, and therefore have exited. But we've never really been a protocol to speculate on price. And I think that obviously it gets convoluted. We're all here to make money. We all want the price to go up. But the long run is actually getting yield producing assets. And that is what is so attractive with EMP to begin with, is that being in the protocol, you're able to actually build positions in yield producing assets. And again, EMP ETH LP would be a yield producing asset by staking it in the farm. You earn ESHARE, and then that is how you realize the profit in the protocol. So this is, again, similar to rental property or businesses in the real world, where you're not speculating on price appreciation. And unfortunately, we've seen, with the recent market frenzy over meme tokens and other pure hype-based cryptocurrencies, you can absolutely get rich overnight, but it's very difficult to do that. It's a lot more to do with luck than utility. And the way that we have designed EMP from the beginning, and the way that Fusion is designed, is to eliminate all of that. It's to take the human error out of the equation. It's to remove a lot of the speculation, and really just provide real yield. And that real yield comes from revenue streams. And we'll talk a little bit more about our different revenue streams moving forward, how, again, Fusion itself is a revenue stream. We've mentioned this a few times, that there will be a 3% market fee and that applies to, a lot, not only the daily volume in the marketplace, but also a lot of the under the hood transactions that we refer to with the BBE, the way the central grid compounds every day, all of that. So that is a revenue stream. And batteries. We haven't released the price of the batteries yet, but you have to realize that every time somebody buys a battery, that is revenue for the protocol. So again, I think that people may not be fully understanding Fusion, and that's okay. But with that misunderstanding and uncertainty and fear and FUD and whatever else it accumulates into, again, we've had quite a week with some uncertain players. But anyway, the point is that that uncertainty leads to opportunity, and we've said it all along. The way to accumulate wealth is to buy low and sell high, or at least accumulate and earn through yield. And that is what Fusion will be in a much more sustainable manner, where you don't have to worry about crazy price action and getting out at the top of the market. You simply yield on your ownership. So again, that's just I want to open up the AMA today with just a recap on that. I've done a few postmortems, I guess you could say, in our socials. Feel free to read any of those statements that are pinned. It just gives you an idea of where our head is at as a team. And again, I mean, obviously we want Fusion to be here tomorrow, but developing is hard. I'm not a developer. I've always said that. I'm the team lead here. I have, experience in coding. I can write code to a certain extent, but Jake and about four others are our lead devs, and they're working their asses off, and we're trying to roll this out as fast as we can. But we also don't want to cut corners. We don't want to release things prematurely, and I know it can be frustrating to be waiting on that. But we've never had an exploit. We've had 100% uptime, and all of that is due to our due diligence before we ever release, something out into the wild. And this is not a fork. This is a brand new concept built from the ground up, 100% from scratch. Again, that Cody and many members of the team and consultants that have been involved have helped us design. So, Cody, I don't know. You want to mention anything with that? I mean, I know Fusion has kind of been your brainchild, and then we, fostered it even into something better as we continue to roll this out. But I mean, I guess just paint a picture of how hard we've been really working behind the scenes to get this out the door.
Oh, for sure. There's been a lot of all-nighters talking with people across the globe, which has been quite interesting and quite fun at the same point. However, to your point that you were saying earlier about, some people not getting it and bailing and doing stuff like that, that is just part of the evolution. Doesn't matter if it's a real world scenario with the business transforming and optimizing and building new. There's always going to be the people that make the choice to leave, and that's fine. That's just their thing. But on the flip side of that, you've forwarded to me a lot of other people in the community have forwarded their ideas to me, and that tells me that the light bulbs are starting to go off with a lot of the community members. And just as many of those community members that are coming up with concepts and ideas of how to expand on top and build on top of Fusion, that is kind of what it's been like for the last 8 months, I think, AJ. And it's been one of those things that when you just get that aha moment at 2:30 in the morning and you reach out to somebody that's clear across the country and or even clear across the world, it's fun to just kind of have them see that light bulb moment as well. And I think for the team as well as myself, it's pretty exciting to see that everybody is getting into that kind of creative filter in their brain, and they're just seeing all the different places that we can take this. So I applaud you guys for digging in deep and basically getting creative with it, trying to figure out what's going to be the best strategy for your play as well. I'll probably get in trouble with PETA for saying this, but there are many ways to skin a cat, right?
Yes.
And there's going to be lots of different ways, but the outcomes are going to all be the same if no matter which way you look at it. The end all goal is to build a passive infinite money loop through Fusion.
No doubt. Awesome, Cody. Well, thanks, brother. And yeah, I'm going to go over some, again, a little more questions that we have that have been asked that we never really got to. And then if you do have a question, please make sure to ask it in the chat. And then, as I said, we can take voice questions as well at the end. Also, I'm a pretty bad YouTuber, so please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Speaking of revenue streams, a part of our monetization comes from our affiliate links and our ad revenue in YouTube. So it may not be the most. Again, I think it's been about $500 in ad rev over the last 2 months or so that we've been monetized. But yeah, all that goes to supporting the EMP ecosystem. So please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. So, all right, I think the major disconnect, and again, this is just from my personal observation in, a lot of the chats and feedback from people. I think that people's major concern is that there will not be enough buying pressure now on eShare, because we have kind of flipped the roles where eShare now becomes the true utility token in regards of actually use case, being able to transact in eShare. And the reason that shift has been made is to protect PEG. I mean, we could have had EMP be the transactional token of the ecosystem in terms of Fusion, but that would still, leave a lot of room for error in people buying and selling EMP without understanding that ultimately affects PEG. And so that was really the main underlying reason that we made that decision. Again, after I'm done, Cody can definitely fill in any of the gaps here, but the whole idea is that eShare gets its value from its use case. And so, just like any token, I mean, again, I'm not comparing EMP to Bitcoin or ETH, even though it will be fractionalized ETH once we achieve PEG and maintain PEG. But the idea is that, again, the same argument can be made for Bitcoin, is what is Bitcoin's utility? I mean, it's an agreement that it has value. It can be a store value, and I've brought this up before too. It's called Metcalfe's law, and that law says that the more connected a currency is, or the more people transacting in that token, the more value it has. And so all of this applies to eShare within Fusion. And, we have been vague on purpose for a few different reasons. One is that we don't want to give away the keys to the kingdom. We do want to have this be kind of a proprietary rollout where people are not trying to reverse engineer and do other things to beat us to market with Fusion. But I mean, they're the easy fixes that a lot of the arguments are coming from are, burning eShare. I mean, we can absolutely take a portion of fees and burn them. That would reduce the supply of eShare dramatically. Even as it sits, eShare is an extremely low supply token. Any token that has under 100,000 in max supply is considered super low total cap. And even after the next 10 years, with our halving inflation model of eShare, we're going to have less than 75,000 eShare. And again, that doesn't account for any potential burning or anything else. And obviously, burning doesn't just make the price go up, but if there is buying pressure and burning, that is when the price can skyrocket. So again, I think that we have all these things in place. We may have not done a great job explaining that in the white paper, but again, that was on purpose, as to not really give out the entire playbook right off the bat. But I understand that people want to know the details before they get involved, and that's always been the goal. I mean, we are working on the white paper V2 even now, and sacrifice is getting very, very close. I know we keep saying that, but hopefully within the month, sacrifice will be here and fusion will be out shortly after that. So again, it could be tomorrow, it could be a few more weeks. I can't give an exact timeline because the devs are still testing and making sure things are perfect. So all right. All that being said, there are a lot of mechanisms behind the scenes that will prop up the price of eShare. And again, another example is the marketplace. So the marketplace will also function as somewhat of a launch pad, and we already have a few partners in the works. One of which, if you follow EMP, you may be able to put two and two together. I'm not ready to publicly comment on that, but there is an opportunity that we are working on now that could give early access to a very in-demand token. And that in the marketplace, it could be a token, it could be an NFT, it could be merch, it could be any sort of things in the marketplace that people will want to buy. And so the only way to buy that is either through the energy that you have earned through your microgrid, or converting your eShare into energy to then spend it. Well, again, we don't want to overly complicate transactions where somebody would have to go to PancakeSwap, buy eShare, then bring their eShare back to the marketplace, and then spend it. So what we're going to do is all that will happen under the hood, almost as an internal swap, where if you have BNB or BUSD or ETH or whatever a native asset on BNB Chain, you can then use that to buy into these pre-sales or items that you would want on the marketplace. And under the hood, that fresh capital is used to buy eShare. And so there is this constant buying pressure on eShare, especially if people aren't using energy in the marketplace, or they're an outside user wanting to get access. So, and again, I mean, we've been fully transparent about this on some of the other AMAs. There will be some selling pressure on eShare in the beginning, especially as we are trying to recover PEG, because that is how these algorithmic or seigniorage protocols are designed. You're supposed to sell the share token to help regain PEG. And unfortunately, as a community, we haven't been doing a very good job doing that, and that's why we are below PEG. But all of the things are in place now with Fusion to do that every single day automatically under the hood without any sort of, again, human error involved. So, again, that was just another high level overview of what Fusion is going to accomplish. Cody, was there anything you want to add to that or, again, clarify?
No, I'm just excited. I added two keywords to your vocabulary: under the hood and guardrails. That's a major win for me. um, no, I think it's important for everybody to realize, and what you just brought out, that a lot of times we have to take two steps back, or excuse me, one step back to take two steps forward, right? And when it comes to the price, yeah, we'll see things kind of drop a little bit as we see this transition through the sacrifice and people selling off and doing things like that. But one of the biggest components there that will harden the floor price for us and just keep taking us to the next level and hardening between that and the previous floor will be that buyback and earn mechanism. And that's going to really help us just kind of keep raising that floor price and solidifying it down the road. So don't be too alarmed if you do see one step back. Just remember, it's going to be two steps forward after that.
Yeah, 100% Cody. And again, just to clarify one more thing in regards to how all this operates. So, all of the emissions from the protocol, again, it's roughly 64 eShare a day. All those are going to the farms right now. And the microgrid and central grid, the way that that operates in Fusion, it is essentially the exact same thing as the farms. Because I think that's another concern. A lot of people think, well, if you're getting rid of the farms, like, uh, what's the point? Like, people just don't get it. Well, Fusion becomes a much more improved version of the farms because all of the same emissions that the farms get today for putting EMP ETH LP and the single staking eShare, all of those will be consolidated into the central grid. And depending on how big of ownership you have, again, the bigger your microgrid, that will determine how much energy a day that you get. And so, again, it's the same exact concept. Nothing is fundamentally changing. Um, it's just a much better version. And another great example is, the auto compounders. I mean, we tried to get everybody to go into the auto compounders on their own because it sells your eShare or energy rewards into more EMP ETH LP, putting direct buying pressure on EMP every single day. Well, now in Fusion, there is no choice. And I know that sounds very centralized. And some people, may have different opinions on that. We're not doing anything behind the scenes. I mean, it's all trustless code. We're not managing anybody's funds. Again, no expectation of profit from the work of others. It's simply a closed loop economy. But there is some benefit in that centralization, meaning, again, what Cody said about guardrails. Yeah, that is my new favorite word because we're putting in guardrails for the same reason, you're given a driver's license, but there are still guardrails to make sure that you don't, drive your car off the cliff and kill yourself and other people. So the same thing with Fusion is that we're putting in these guardrails to again take away the human error. And really, it's not about control or handcuffing. It's about allowing it's allowing the ecosystem to operate at its highest potential. Because when we're at peg, when people are doing the right thing in terms of the economics, when there's a lot less selling pressure on EMP, that is when the APR goes bananas. And that is the whole point here. I mean, the whole reason that we started EMP was to provide a passive income with exposure to Ethereum. And nothing has changed. Everything that we do as a team is to, provide the smart contracts that can deliver that. I mean, that is the whole goal of what we're doing. We're not managing funds. We're not, doing anything behind the scenes in a shady way. There are no smoke and mirrors. It's not been a protocol that we created to get our inner circle and our friends rich. I mean, yes, we definitely have some dev fees. We have to pay the bills. We sell a little bit eShare from the emissions that are dedicated to the treasury to keep the lights on and to pay for devs, to pay for Jake. But we're not, as a team, we're not, amassing boatloads of cash at the expense of everybody else. It is a very benevolent system that keeps the capital in the ecosystem. And with Fusion, that is going to be even more easy to do because one of the main sources of the liquidity leaks in EMP, and again, we've talked about this 100 times on old AMAs, so please feel free to go and listen to some older AMAs. But the major liquidity leak in EMP is when we are printing in the boardroom and people then decide to sell the EMP that they get from the boardroom, dump it on all of our heads. Yes, they profit, but that then brings us back below peg where the boardroom doesn't print at all anymore. And that capital exits the ecosystem, meaning not only are they dumping on our heads, but they're taking the liquidity and they're exiting. Well, with Fusion, again, the boardroom doesn't operate that way anymore. We become a non-inflationary token. That is the whole goal with this, is that the boardroom goes away, but we are able to still maintain a peg and the true fractionalized Ethereum claim by having that be our main LP and our the ratio of 4,000 to 1. So the point is that you're still able to profit in Fusion, but you're not actually dumping EMP to do so. And so again, it's just a better version, and inherently, Tomb forks, Tomb Finance is the protocol that made the seigniorage protocols famous, even though there was many other ones before that, Iron Finance to name one. But none of them have succeeded. And again, we got into EMP knowing that we were able to tweak a lot of things that didn't make seigniorage protocol successful. Detonator was a great example. That helped us have major locked liquidity in the beginning, which again allowed us to grow and be successful. And we are always adding features or building contracts or pivoting to make it successful long term. And I get that people get frustrated and say, well, you're changing the rules. Well, not really. I mean, we're trying to deliver on everything. The only thing that we're changing, if we are changing any rules, it's to make things even more sustainable. And the only other option is to say, all right, well, let's do nothing, and the protocol has a a long, slow death, and we're not in a position to see that happen. I mean, we work way too hard at EMP and have way too much of an amazing community to just say, yeah, you know what, Fusion wasn't a good idea. Let's just let everybody fend for themselves. That's not what we're going to do. So, again, and I'm just playing devil's advocate there. We're more than confident in everything. I mean, we wouldn't have put all the brain power and resources and time if we weren't fully confident in Fusion. Again, I just think other people may not have that same vision, and that's okay because, again, the topic of today is that that uncertainty leads to opportunity, to everybody else that's still here. So, all right, that was enough of me being on my soapbox. Again, I hope that gave everybody a lot more clarity into what we've been dealing with over the last week. And I'm happy to get into some questions. I have about 4 or 5 questions, and then anybody else in the chat, feel free to ask. But Cody, before we move on to questions, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, that was well said. We got some good questions brewing, so I'd say let's jump over to the questions.
All right, sounds good, brother. So usually I have LA to read them and then we can respond, but I'm gonna go ahead and read them. So forgive me if I gloss over some things, and I'll try to do my best to read and answer at the same time here. So, all right, the first question is, I've been compounding in Detonator for more than a year. When I will claim, it will go. So they're saying they've only compounded the entire time in Detonator. They say, when I am finally going to claim, it will go into the central grid of Fusion. It feels like I have to start from scratch again, as the claim will be like a drip into an ocean, figure of speech. Nothing is liquid to actually claim, which was the incentive. What will be done for the people in Detonator at the moment? I do understand that I need to check what works for the whole protocol, but eventually the community who is in Detonator needs to have something that they can hold to. It is irrespective, I don't know what that word is, how much percentage-wise is in Detonator in comparison with the farm, what will be its the unique selling point moving forward. So, all right, let me, again, I want to just read it in full. Let me back up again now. So, they are in Detonator and they've been claiming, or they've been compounding nonstop. Well, first of all, and again, I don't want this to come across as if I, and being short with anybody. I'm just trying to speak in factual terms. So the whole idea with Detonator was that you never compounded 100% forever. I mean, obviously, you want to build up your position in Detonator, but the idea overall, and even if you go back and listen to the old AMAs, the idea is that you use the Detonator to supplement your farms. And the key word in that is supplement. So you would do a 5-2 strategy, which means you claim, or you compound 5 days, you claim 2, or you would do a 7-1 strategy, where you would compound 7 and claim 1. And that would build, I'm sorry, 6-1. Jesus, I can't even do my own math. 6-1, you compound 6, you claim 1. And that would be able to build your farm overall. And had you been doing that, you would have way more LP in the farms, liquid, so you can do whatever you want, and you've been earning ESHARE on that the entire time. So, admittedly, the idea with Detonator was that we were going to rehypothecate the LP onto the farms on your behalf, and that would have been able to generate ESHARE that was then sold to supplement the pool balance of Detonator. Well, unfortunately, with the peg going down and the market going down, that was just never a possibility. We were never actually able to rehypothecate. I mean, we did it here and there, but we were never able to rehypothecate a large amount of that LP to have, it supplement the pool balance. So the short answer is, all of that was just something that never came to fruition. But moving forward, you are not locked into fusion. So they say it feels like they have to start from scratch again, and when they claim, it's like one little drip going into a giant ocean. Well, again, in the beginning, it may feel that way. The whole idea is that we want to alleviate a lot of that bleed on Detonator. So what will happen is when you claim your DOS positions every day, it will go to your microgrid. Well, your microgrid is sellable, and I think that's what people are really not following, is that you can sell your microgrid at any time. And when you sell your microgrid, that doesn't mean that you're selling EMP or any sort of LP that is associated with the DOS. So this is a much better system where, yes, there has to be a buyer on the other end. The Treasury will hopefully step in and sweep the floor on those NFTs, but there will be a way to exit. So at the very least, you would still be able to theoretically sell dollar for dollar everything that you would claim anyway from a DOS product. But again, it's about guardrails. It's about trying to help you build your position outside of Detonator now, and then move into having your microgrid actually generate yield for you. And that yield could be way more than what you would yield just straight claiming from Detonator or any DOS over the long run. And so, with all that being said, though, it's not a way to kill Detonator. Obviously, we still want to support all DOS products, and so because of these changes, we are eliminating the bleed on the system. We are then able to find a floor of the pool balances on DOS products, and because of the incentives that are already in place, once the pool balances start or stop draining, because that's really why people are not going into and Detonator, because, or any DOS, is that the pool balances just keep going down. And as long as people are claiming and dumping, that is going to continue to happen. So we have to break that cycle. Fusion is the answer to that. And then people will be confident in, wow, we found a floor. My daily burst is going up. The dollar value of the assets are going up. My ROI time is going down. And that is when we see a whole new wave of capital going into DOS products. And on top of all of that, once we're back at PEG and the ecosystem is healthy again, we will absolutely consider supplementing those pools over the long run. So Detonator is not being abandoned by any means. We just have to make some very hard decisions in the short term to help get things back on track. So, Cody, again, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think with all of the DOS products that are out there right now, I think that as soon as Fusion comes out, there's going to have to be almost like a rethink of how people are using the DAS products, right? Because the DAS products are now not going to be just a single standalone product by themselves. They're actually going to work in conjunction with Fusion. And if people can kind of take a step back and look at it that way, they can see, okay, I've got this money loop, infinite money loop going in with Fusion. If I only go into Fusion, right? But if I use an NFT battery to auto deposit into the detonator and then have that every time I claim out, go back into Fusion, I'm adding X percentage of EMP to my central grid, which is going to automatically increase my percentage of ownership. And so now the DAS products move from a single game theory type of thing to a overarching kind of game strategy within Fusion in its whole entirety. So I think that in myself, as I'm stepping back, looking at all the DOS products that we have right now, I will probably start getting a little bit more bullish on some of these other ones because I can see that of the opportunity for it to just keep multiplying what I'm earning from the central grid, multiply it, and then put it right back in. And it's that whole, rinse, repeat kind of thing, right? And that's the way I feel like we need to start looking at the DOS products.
Yes, great points, Cody. And again, it's 100% true. The DAS products become, a speculative game, which they've always been. Again, I know people try to put words in my mouth, but, we've said all along, Detonator and DAS products, they're not an annuity. It's not a certificate of deposit. It's a game. And because there are prizes involved, that does dilute, people's positions. But those prizes are crucial for the incentive to go into these products. So, the math is all there. I mean, we've never changed any of the rules on Detonator in terms of the math from day one. And, some people did the math, some people didn't. And I can't, I'm not going to be the guy to say, well, it's your fault, but I am going to be the one that says you push the buttons, we don't push the buttons for you. So, and again, I'm doing everything that is humanly possible to bring new life into Detonator and DOS products. And I do think that we'll see them flourish and be even more successful than they were ever at one point. And a lot of that, again, this is a comment from Mel in the chat as well, is that basically is saying, my daily burst was just continuing to go down, and I couldn't keep up with the other people that were winning and depositing. Well, you have to remember too that not only are we implementing Fusion, but we're also implementing a V3 of DOS products. So after Fusion, there will be a much different tax system on those that are claiming more than twice a week, and that tax system alone is extremely bullish for the longevity of DOS products, and it will help the ones of you that have just been compounding and aren't able to gain on those that just bring new capital. That will even the playing field majorly, where if you are compounding 7 days a week and not claiming at all, you will be able to gain position on people that have already built a large bag. So again, there's a multi-prong approach. It's not an end-all be-all fix. It will be something that we roll out in stages, but after Fusion and after Detonator V3, the ecosystem will be way more sustainable and future proof in terms of not having to go through this, again. And who knows? I mean, do we have every answer perfect? Probably not. But we are a team that always is innovating and always is pivoting. And, failure is not an option. So if we figure out something along the way that's even more bullish and more helpful, then obviously we're going to try to implement that. So, all right, awesome. All right, I have another question here. Hang on one moment. Okay, this is a good one. Where will the nodes get their EMP from Fusion since the boardroom won't exist anymore? So yeah, great question. The plan as of now was that when the boardroom prints, a portion of that EMP from the inflation goes to supporting node payouts. Well, again, we've made an announcement on nodes where you're no longer able to claim nodes directly and dump that EMP. All that EMP is sacrificed to the central grid to build your ownership and give you credit in your microgrid. And again, there's a lot of things behind the scenes with nodes that we're still working out. But the short answer is, you will eventually be able to sacrifice your entire node positions, where we are able to kind of reduce the liability that nodes hold. Again, just like same with Detonator and all DOS products, you will be able to sacrifice your positions. We just don't want to have that roll out too fast because we don't want it to dilute the ecosystem too hard. So all that's still in the works, but as far as where that EMP comes from, we would definitely be able to supplement some node emissions from our treasury. We have a bunch of options. I mean, just because EMP is not being emitted anymore or minted, meaning that there's new EMP going into circulation, we will still have plenty of EMP reserves in the treasury. And that's another really cool part about Fusion is that EMP stays protocol owned, and then we can do what's best for the protocol with that EMP. If that is, supplementing Detonator, we do that. If it's supplementing nodes, we do that. If it's burning it outright, we'll do that too. So there's a bunch of options. All right. Okay, another follow-up on nodes. Will the nodes APR keep lowering, or will some energy specifically go toward funding nodes? So yeah, again, I pretty much answered that, but APR, if the node balance is decreasing, then yeah, APRs will go down. But also to Cody's point earlier, with DOS products, nodes become very speculative in the fact that there may be a situation where you would want to buy EMP off the market, put it into nodes, and now you can actually earn more potential EMP over time than if you just sacrificed it directly into the building of your microgrid. So there's a lot of game theory. That's what we're saying. There's a ton of different ways. Like Cody said, we don't want to piss off PETA, but a ton of ways to skin the cat. So there is no right or wrong answer. I can't even tell you. Cody can't tell you. I mean, we don't know how this is all going to play out until it does. We can speculate. And that's the fun part of crypto. But yeah, who knows? Maybe going into nodes is the best play, or up EMP is another one. That's another way to maybe get ahead of the game a little bit. But the idea is that all the legacy contracts in EMP, again, up EMP, nodes, DOS, bonds, all of those are speculative plays to increase your position in Fusion moving forward. So, all right, did that answer that, Cody? I don't know, again, if you want to add more.
No, you hit it on the nail.
All right, awesome. Give me one more minute here. I think I have one more question, and then we can open it up to the audience. One moment. Okay. All right, so it says ESHARE can be sacrificed in both central grid and microgrid. Yes, that is so. That's the first part of the question. This is going to be a multiple part question here. So, um, yeah, eShare will be able to be sacrificed to your microgrid as well as the central grid. The central grid will build your ownership in terms of dollar value of your eShare, and the other way is to sacrifice. Again, it gets confusing when we refer to it as central grid and microgrid. So that I would just say that portion is the microgrid, meaning you're building your share of your of the protocol and increasing your microgrid. The other option is to have it as essentially what we're calling marketplace credits or energy. So again, there would be a way to sacrifice your eShare for liquid energy, and then that energy can be used to buy, batteries or other utility-based NFTs, or really anything from the marketplace, because you either have to earn energy or you have to, again, through your central grid and microgrid, or you have to convert liquid eShare into energy, the non-liquid version, to be able to be utilized in Fusion. So those are the only two options you have. And yeah, hopefully that answers that first part. So it says that would mean it would make okay, so that would mean that it would make more sense to stock up on eShare now rather than EMP, which can only be sacrificed for a central grid position, right? Not necessarily. So again, the reason that you would want to stock up on EMP, maybe over eShare in the short term, would be because you're getting almost a 4x multiplier now. Again, it was 3x last week, and again, that multiplier, that's not static. That's just depending on how far away we are from peg. So when we're this far below peg, then it may be a good idea to prioritize buying EMP because you're getting a larger bonus. Now, as we're getting closer to peg, then yeah, eShare would probably be way more attractive to purchase because you're getting, a lot less of a multiplier that you would be on EMP, which again, that sort of math and balance is the same sort of speculation that eShare had when the boardroom was a thing. I mean, we saw eShare skyrocket in price when we had that threat of the boardroom printing, because the only way to get more EMP was to have eShares in the boardroom. Well, that sort of mentality, it's a little different, but the overall gist is the same, where as we get back to peg and the payouts are really juicy in Fusion, that will, inherently make eShare more attractive too. And if you've been accumulating eShare all along, now you're able to redeem your eShare for energy at a much higher price. And that multiple could be good as well. So again, there is no right or wrong answer. It's really whatever asset you're more bullish on. And my statement all along, again, not financial advice. Nothing I say is meant to, influence any of you. But get half. Make sure you're exposed to both assets. If you have $100 to invest, half EMP, half eShare, and get ready for a sacrifice. So, all right. And then they also say, plus, there's not a big peg credit bonus with eShare. Yeah, so again, I already kind of went over all that. What does EMP sacrifice to the central grid actually mean? And yes, I've read the AMA notes and the video timelines. For example, what does a $100 or $1,000 EMP sacrifice actually get you? I understand some kind of percentage of ownership, yes, but what does it get you in terms of ROI? So again, unfortunately, we cannot comment on ROI because we really have no idea how many people are going to go into Fusion, how the rewards are going to be split among different users and how heavy they go. But I can say that it would be at least on par, if not more, than what the farm currently yields, because all of the emissions that go to the farms, that determine the APR now, all of that is still happening in Fusion, just a bit more indirectly. So I can't comment on ROI. What you're getting by sacrificing the EMP is, again, your microgrid represents your essentially um, liquidity, single-sided liquidity of Fusion. So rather than having to provide EMP ETH LP, it's a single staking representation of your ownership in the protocol. And because there's only a finite number of EMP in circulation, or in total supply, um, however much EMP you sacrifice really determines, again, how much of the protocol that you own. And because it's encapsulated in that NFT, again, just imagine that your microgrid is a candy wrapper around the EMP that you own. Um, uh, if EMP goes up in price, your microgrid will also go up in price because it represents a certain amount of EMP within that microgrid. So again, I know that can be really complicated to explain verbally. We're working on some videos that explain that a little bit better. But yeah, Cody, you wanna go into that because it was really important that we came up with a single staking option with EMP, and that was a big complaint in earlier on in the protocol. So you want to elaborate a little bit more on basically where the value of your microgrid comes from?
Yeah, the value of the microgrid really comes from us stemming back. Like if we rewind like 8 months ago, things were pretty good. We were paying out. We were at pay, everything like that, and people were earning lots and lots of EMP from the boardroom, from nodes, from all over the place. Right? It was just boiling down to the point where, what do I do with all this EMP? Right? People that didn't understand how the protocol worked, they were just dumping it, and we saw a lot of peaks and valleys in the price of according to peg, because we would drop below peg, come back to peg, drop below, things like that. But it really just came down to a lot of the comments that were being made in the community by community members like yourself. What do I do with the peg? I know I can sell ESHARE, no questions. It's great, grand, wonderful. But what do I do with it? There wasn't any real single staking farm. There wasn't anything like that. So, you either took your EMP and zapped it into the detonator, or you zapped it to do an LP farm. You took it over to Pancake Swap. You added your own ETH to it to create LP. I mean, a lot of different things that you could do there, but it just wasn't really clear, right? And so with Fusion, the way that we came up with it is that it should just be a no-brainer, right? You take your EMP, you put it into the central grid. It's a single stake. There's no real need to have LP type of thing for this moving forward. And as a result of that, that's how we kind of came up with the concept of taking all of these different components of what to do with EMP and putting it into one thing and making that super simple. Just deposit it into the central grid. The microgrid acts as your kind of ownership. And then from there, being able to figure out what can we do from within the microgrid to make it very appealing and very interactive and fun for people. To create their own unique strategy and in essence, their own gameplay of how they want to leverage the whole Fusion game.
I love it. Perfect explanation, Cody. And yeah, again, obviously we preached all along that liquidity or LP is extremely important. But to Cody's point, LP will now be provided by the protocol, which is also really bullish because right now, you're incentivized in the farm to provide LP, and because you as a participant are providing the LP, you're then rewarded in the share token. Well, moving forward, you still get rewarded in the share token for locking up the EMP, but you also now don't have to worry about actually having LP, and we as a protocol can make that LP and have the liquidity match whatever it needs to. Like right now, we have a ton of liquidity, which is awesome, but it's a bit capital inefficient. With $4 million of liquidity, but only, $100,000 of volume every day, that's a lot of dead capital that could be yielding and making new revenue for the protocol. So all of that, again, is super bullish behind the scenes and can actually increase APR and still have plenty of liquidity for people that want to get in and out. Because now instead of having liquidity on EMP as a token, we just have to have more liquidity in the ability to buy and sell the NFTs again, because they are encapsulating the representation. And that, again, even you could sell, there could be 1,000 cells of every microgrid every day, and that will never ever impact PEG. So this is just such a better model moving forward. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I like the point that you mentioned earlier that there is no real big change to this, right? So let's take the boardroom for an example. People would deposit their ESHARE into the boardroom, and what do they get out? EMP, right? What is the difference with that and Fusion right now? You deposit into the central grid. Yeah, it's a little bit different. You get paid out in ESHARE or energy that goes to your microgrid. You can do whatever you want with it. But then we have that buyback and earn, which basically buys EMP and redeposits into your central grid. The boardroom never did that for you, right?
Totally.
Automatically. So there's a, yeah, it is a little bit of a different structure, but if you really look at it, the concept is still the same as the boardroom. It's just that we're automatically building your share for you based upon if you're spending your ROI, daily ROI, or not, then you're just building your share there, right? Same way with like the DOS products like Detonator, right? If you're in it and you happen to claim one day, instead of it going directly into your wallet, we're having it go into your microgrid wallet, which there you can still interact with it. And at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want with it and not feel guilty that you're going to have to that you're claiming, right? But like I said earlier, it's going to change that whole thing. So there's really no difference in how things were performing before. It's just that we're funneling everything down to almost like a single point of focus that you really needed to be interactive within the system.
Yep, 100%. Great, Cody. And again, that was all, the idea is that we make Fusion less complicated. I know right now it seems more complicated, but that's because we're all learning this together. But once it becomes second nature, Fusion is way simpler than the way EMP functions now. Like Cody said, all you have to worry about is getting EMP, sacrificing it or converting it to your microgrid, which represents your ownership, and then cashing out in batteries or letting it auto compound to build your position even further in the microgrid or in Fusion overall. So it's a lot less steps, a lot less complicated once you finally get involved. And again, I think the more that we do the AMAs, the more we explain, I think people get it slowly but surely. So, all right, awesome. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take a few more questions live now. I think Gabs wanted to jump on. Let me go ahead and allow. All right, Gabs, you should be able to unmute. Yep, go ahead, Gabs. Are you there still? You want to unmute? All right, maybe not. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep, there
Okay,
you
cool.
are. Yeah.
Hi, AJ.
Yeah, hey, Gabs,
You
go
good?
ahead. Yes, hello, my friend.
How you doing, man? You good?
Yes, definitely. How are you?
Yeah. Just to say, yeah, well done, guys. You're doing a good job so far. Yeah. I got a couple of questions. I think I did actually IM you recently about what you guys are going to do about e-bonds and stuff. I told you you've had my e-bonds there for almost a year now.
For sure.
And yeah, so I read the white paper. There was nothing at all about that. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. Anything about that at all on with Fusion?
Yeah, absolutely. So e-bonds are awesome. We went over this in, I think it was either the last AMA or the AMA before, but I'm happy to go over it again. So bonds are going to be credited immediately. So if you're a bond holder, there is no better news for you than this. So what's going to happen is we're crediting e-bonds as if it was liquid EMP with the multiplier bonus. So again, at today's prices, all EMP that is being sacrificed is credited at peg value. So right now that's about a 4x
Wow.
from where we're at. And so yeah, you will get the ownership of your microgrid in that dollar value of peg. And I'm glad you brought this up too, because I wanted to bring this up earlier. A lot of people said, well, where does that value come from? Well, again, you have to understand we're so confident in peg and the ecosystem recovering that we're almost offering a futures contract with users that believe in EMP to give you that bonus, because once the ecosystem does achieve peg again, then the value is locked in, and a one-to-one representation, of that bonus that you're getting up front. So that is where, we're not just printing money out of thin air. Like a lot of the centralized governments do these days. It's simply a hedge with the protocol and agreement that we've had, with all of you to honor that peg value. So yeah, there'll be an interface, a sacrifice interface, and then one of the sections will be e-bonds, and you just select how many e-bonds you would like to sacrifice. They get sent to the treasury, and then you get credit based on wherever the price of EMP is. So if we see EMP go up, 10 cents or whatever, by the time sacrifice is live, then that bonus will not be as big, but you're still getting, at least hopefully a 3x, and on that. Does that help, Gabs? Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's good. That's good news, man. That's
Okay,
good news.
awesome.
Last question. You talked about fusion, and the way to kind of convert your claims was to use the energy or something like that into your preferred token, BNB, ETH or eShare or whatever. So does that mean you're gonna have a new coin or token called energy or something like that? Or how's that gonna work?
Yep.
And what would the conversion ratio be?
Yep. So okay. And again, this is a little hard. Once it's actually live, this will make a lot more sense. But the way I've been explaining it that I think helps people the most is energy is basically an in-game currency. So just like when you're playing, again, I'm not a gamer really anymore, other than blockchain games, but I guess in Zelda, Zelda or Mario, coins in Mario, or rubies in Zelda. It's an in-game currency. So energy is an in-game currency. It will not be a BEP20 token. It doesn't have liquidity, so it won't be its own token. It's simply just a representation of your marketplace credits that you can either choose to have, compound into your microgrid, or spend in the marketplace. So yeah, Cody, you want to elaborate on that? Go ahead.
Yeah, and so that energy is basically tied to the value of eShare, right? And there's many reasons why we did that. One is to basically avoid having to do tons and tons of like little microtransactions we're able to shift some things around and track and reallocate that energy in a lot more efficient manner without the cost, right? And so that's why we kind of moved that way with energy as well, just to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit for you guys to kind of see that.
Okay. So you okay, that's the last question.
Yep.
You convert your claims into energy, and then that's actually kind of pegged, I use the word loosely, to ESHARE. But obviously, because ESHARE can be very volatile, and your LP contains ETH and EMP, that has a different kind of mechanism. I just have I don't know. That just sounds, if ESHARE goes down, basically what you actually converted during the claims might lose value. You get the point I'm making?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean yeah, go ahead, Cody. I can elaborate if you want to jump in first.
Oh, you can start.
All right, so yeah, no worries. So yeah, I mean, to your point, yes, that is a potential side effect, but the idea is that the same reason that when the ecosystem was healthy, that eShare had more and more value, that we have a ton more buying pressure on eShare over time, we have a ton more use case, we can burn some of it out of supply. The idea is that eShare will gradually increase over time, and so yeah, will there be short-term volatility? For sure, and that is part of the game. The game theory is that you're going to want to know when to convert your eShare into energy to lock in those gains. For the same reason you want to sell the top and buy the bottom, there will be arbitrage on eShare, and because energy is associated with that, it does provide, that swing trading mentality without ever hurting the protocol. And at the end of the day, you're not going to get a major advantage, in terms of an exploit of running the price of eShare up, converting it to energy, and then having it dump. I mean, again, the idea is that any of the liquid energy that you're able to convert, that's only spendable in the marketplace anyway. And the marketplace is going to be actual items. I think that was another thing that we weren't really clear on. In order to cash out, you have to cash out and have a battery. So there won't be this like exploit where you can convert eShare into energy, then buy, say, Ethereum off the marketplace. It won't work like that. You have to go, if you're cashing out into another asset, it has to be through a battery. And that, again, it may take, up to a few weeks to power cycle, especially if you have a lower ownership of the protocol. Only whales will be able to power cycle more often than others. So does that help? I don't know if I answered that well, or Cody, if you want to add to that, but
Yeah, no. You've answered it. And
okay.
I promised my last question. When
Yeah,
you
no worries,
convert
bro.
it, when you convert it into your ETH or your preferred, what's it called, token, is there any tax to kind of take it off Fusion?
Yeah, so all transactions, even the power cycles, that will be subject to the 3% tax. So again, that is what on the surface, yeah, it sucks to have a tax, but all of that goes towards your rewards anyway. So the tax, again, yes, it's a tax, but it's really just meant to provide more volume on eShare because
Yeah, sure.
all of those rewards go back to the central grid anyway.
Okay, cool. But you're not paying the tax twice, because for claiming there's no tax, right, from Detonator.
Yeah, so Cody, I know you may be able to talk more on that. That was some of the last minute math that we've been doing with the devs to make sure that we're not taxing people too much. So yeah.
Right. And we try to keep the tax pretty low. If you live in the States or a country that offers a sales tax, go down and buy a soda, you have to pay a small sales tax on that. I mean, people are already accustomed to paying that, as well as even when they go to Pancake Swap to make a swap, they have to pay a tax and gas fees and things like that, right? We wanted that tax to be enough that we could still cover the cost of everything, including some of the automated BNB fees that we would need to pay out of that, all coming from that tax portion. So we're trying to get that dialed in. It's not like we're going to charge something astronomical like 10% tax or 20% tax or anything like that. It's just a small little tax, like I said, because we are providing a service by doing that, and for the automation portion of it.
Totally. And again, I know I mentioned this term earlier about economic leakage. Bull used to say it all the time. Where that tax in the real world, that tax goes to pay for, infrastructure or, road repairs or, armies. But all the taxes in Fusion go right back to all the participants. It's not a leak. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks, AJ. That's good, man. Thank you, Cody. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, brother. Yeah, no worries. Thank you. That was great. All right.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. I'm going to go through some of the written ones and get caught up, and then we're going to wrap it up. I'm still feeling a little bit under the weather. I know I've been having voice issues. I'm not sick, but I think I'm just getting run down with all the late nights that we've been doing, trying to get this out as fast as possible. So, all right, let me see. There was a few I saw here. Will all EMP products be equally able to sacrifice, or will there be a sequence? So yeah, that's a great question. There will be a dashboard where all will be able to be sacrificed at once. So we'll give you a time deadline of when we go live with the sacrifice. All of you will be ready for that, and then I would assume again, all of you that are paying attention would want to try to sacrifice as much as possible, as early as possible, because there will also be an early sacrifice bonus as well. So it will behoove you, again, to be part of our community, be paying attention, and following along as we do this. And, that's also super bullish as well, because we want to reward those of you that have been here with us, have been building positions, and therefore, you do deserve a bit of a bonus in terms of ownership of the protocol. And then after we get through sacrifice, initial, everybody's got their positions. Fusion is, either running or about to launch. We're probably going to do it after Fusion is actually running and launched. Then we will have a huge marketing campaign to get new blood into EMP. And that will be better too, because by then we'll know what kind of APR we'll be generating, and APR speaks for itself. So the juicier the payouts, the more involvement and eyeballs that will want to be here for sure. So go ahead, Cody. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I think there's even going to be people that are going to say, hey, I want to hold off, watch PEG go up, watch ESHARE go up, and start trading outside of Fusion. It's going to be a catch-22 because, in my opinion, if there's only 10 people that get into Fusion the first day and the rest are just kind of waiting to see, those 10 people are going to split the pot that first day, right? And so take that into consideration into your strategy. Like if you're going to do that, like for me, I'm getting in the second that it opens. I'm dumping everything I've got into this because of that very reason right there, that if I'm one of the first ones in, I'm going to be one of the first ones to start getting paid, and there's going to be some lot of advantage to that. Likewise, I mean, yeah, you can play the game, play the system, and see what happens, but you're going to get in late, So just kind of take that into consideration.
Yep, no, 100%, Cody. And again, even to further the game theory, I mean, who knows? By the time, I've seen crazier things happen. ETH could spike to, $4,000 or $8,000 in a matter of a couple of days, and then those that waited get more dollar value on their sacrifice too. So there's a lot of ways to do it. There's again no right or wrong answer. I can say personally, obviously any sort of personal holdings I have, I'm going to be going in heavy and early, because what I've built my wealth around in crypto is building passive income streams, and it's not about min maxing and getting every drop out of the lemon. It's about building a position that can yield you indefinitely. So again, that is the whole point of EMP, and now the whole point of Fusion is that we want to create those passive income streams for people, and still give them exposure to ETH and the crypto markets overall. So, all right. Another question is, have we got any updates on the price of batteries? So yeah, I was hoping to drop that alpha tonight. Unfortunately, we're still doing some last minute tweaking on that. But hopefully by Monday, we'll have an actual price point we can give. I can say, we've said all along, to Cody's point about the tax, they will be affordable. I mean, they're not $400 batteries. I mean, they're going to be very economical, and they're going to scale. So, in other words, we did talk about this in other AMAs. Combining them is going to be a thing. So if you're a minnow, you're not producing a lot of energy, then you don't need a large battery. You can just buy one and be okay. But if you're a whale, you're going to want to buy multiple batteries to make sure you capture all of that energy as well. So yeah, you want to add to that, Cody, without dropping too much alpha?
All I can say is if you can take your sweetheart out for a dinner, you can most likely afford a battery.
I love it. Perfect, brother. Yes. So yeah. And again, all the battery revenue from sales will go again to bolstering the ecosystem. So that is pure revenue for the protocol. All right.
Hey, motherfucking Jay.
Hey, Jesse, what's
What
up,
the
brother?
fuck is going on, bro?
How are
My
you,
brother
man?
from another mother.
Long time
I'm
no
doing
talk,
good.
bro.
I'm doing good.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's up, man? Go ahead,
I'll
bro.
be back. Listen. I'll be back here listening in the background.
I know you're you're in the back of the class, bro. You're always there observing, man. No, I hear you, bro. I know you're always around.
So I have a question. Because I'm a little confused. So I get it. We're going in at true peg value. So,
For sure.
let's just say for example, I put 100K EMP sacrifice. So, you're saying it's like a futures contract. So my microgrid that doesn't end up being worth 100,000 EMP. That's determined on what? So walk me through that real quick, because I'm not having a clear understanding. You know what I'm saying? Like what the arbitrage opportunity, as a bonus or a pain by doing that. So if I come in 100,000 EMP, my microgrid isn't going to be worth 100,000 EMP. That's determined based on what?
Yeah, so it would be determined based on peg, and that's why I don't think people are understanding the opportunity here. So yeah, you
Right.
would
So
be.
in other
Yeah.
words, if we're let me give you an example and
Yes,
see if
please.
I'm right as I understand it. So let's just say, ETH is at 2,000 during sacrifice phase. That would leave EMP at 50 cents a piece. My 100,000 would equate to $50,000 at peg value.
Correct.
If Fusion launches and EMP is at 25 cents, well then, effectively that will make my microgrid worth 200,000 EMP.
It would make your microgrid worth the dollar value of being at peg. So you don't get a multiple on the EMP itself, unless, because the only other key factor here is that there has to be a buyer. So your microgrid can be worth, whatever whatever the peg value says it is. But in the beginning, we are not going to be able to just buy NFTs off the market at peg value. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm not necessarily worried about what the the value of the NFT is worth. I'm more interested in what my amount of EMP would be encapsulated in my NFT.
Correct. So yes, to your point, yeah, it would essentially be 100,000 EMP at peg value. And eventually, when we're at peg and that the treasury is healthy, we will be buying those NFTs at the price of peg. So, it's not going to happen immediately, but that is a 4x, on your encapsulated value. That's why, again, on EMP, yes.
On EMP that's purchased at the levels it's at today.
Exactly, yes.
So in other words, if I were to stick the 100,000 in there, encapsulated 100,000 EMP. So if I sacrifice 100,000 EMP, my microgrid NFT is going to be worth 100,000 EMP.
100%. And in the meantime, you're earning on the underlying value of that microgrid. So, if somebody, again, tried to, if ETH went up, to $4,000, whoever's going into Fusion as EMP and ETH go up, your microgrid is representing more ownership just based on the price appreciation as well.
Well, in my example, my $50,000 worth, which you can get today for 13 grand.
Exactly.
If ETH goes to 4,000, that's worth 100 grand.
Right. So to your point earlier, you are essentially getting 200,000 or more EMP for the price of 100,000 EMP once we do recover peg. So yeah, 100%, bro. You get it. I appreciate you.
So the movement in the ETH price has nothing to do with my encapsulated EMP from the time of sacrifice to Fusion launch.
Right. Once you sacrifice, that is when the math is calculated.
And then that's the amount of EMP that I have encapsulated.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm super excited because, Fusion, in my opinion, it's a more robust way in what I've been explaining for people to do from the very beginning. Take your nodes, pair it up, stick it in the farm, take your detonator, stick it in the farm. I mean, this just streamlines the whole way of a healthy protocol running. And, and more importantly, it makes it way easier to dedicate, the real income revenue into the system. So exactly. I'm super, super excited.
I love it, Jesse. I love it, man. Yes, thank you for jumping on.
I think we just moment there.
Right. I mean, listen, anybody that's upset, at the end of the day, anybody's upset the way that it works with the nodes or the way that it works with the detonator or whatever, these are the people I've been trying to get to, every time I got on the AMA. I mean, it's funny, sometimes I'll say something in the chat and people will jump in thinking I'm a new guy, but, I've been preaching this stuff for months now, AJ. I tried to tell these guys a long time ago, if you're not responsible with the EMP, well, this takes all that out of the equation. The simplicity. I know everyone seems confused, and like AJ and like LA always says, change is scary, and it seems really confusing or whatever. But this really streamlines the entire ecosystem. The only thing that for me that I have yet to be unveiled is exciting to see the NFTs. What's the offer, the way that I'm going to allocate my energy, because there's going to be gamification to that. I mean, if anybody hasn't thought about it, if you have, 2 or 3 blue chip batteries, well, one of them just might have had a pump, and you might be saying to yourself, well, I think it's going to have a pullback. I'm going to turn that battery off. Why would I want to get paid in something that's going to give me a pullback? Yes. So there's going to be a lot of gamification going on with these NFTs, and I'm super excited for it. I think it's a genius idea, and I'm fully behind all of the changes that's coming, and I'm super excited for all of it.
I love it. Well, thank you, Jesse. It's great to hear from you, bro. And yeah, man, I know you're always in the background supporting us. And it's good to hear you on an AMA, as well as.
Oh, and real quick, listen,
go ahead,
look, and because I can't forget. You know what I'm saying? Smack up them likes, do everything you got to do. It supports revenue stream, and you know what I'm saying. In the end, you support that. It supports your own bags. That money comes back home. So
totally.
And AJ, I love you, bro, man. I'm here for the long haul.
Right on, brother. Love you too, Jesse. Great to hear from you, man. And DeFi dinner time is back. Right on, bro.
And DeFi dinner time is back.
Yeah. All right, Jesse. Good deal, bro. All right, well, there you go. I mean, again, another one of our OG members. I mean, we're not here to, have a kumbaya. I think, unfortunately, some of the negativity, is louder than some of the positivity. So it was great to have Jesse come on and explain that. And yeah, to recap, 100%, we are honoring the dollar value at that peg value, and it's just because we're so confident that we are going to recover peg, and it gives that added ownership to the good actors that have been here for a while with us and have made the sacrifices, of sticking around through the good and the bad. So, all right, awesome. I think that's it. Again, I wanted to kind of wrap it up around an hour. Obviously, having Jesse here, I'm happy to go a little bit late. Gabs had some great questions as well. Cody, was there any last minute comments or anything you want to go over before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'd just like to leave everybody with this thought. And Jesse, thank you for coming on and thank you for your support. I'm glad you like it. And I love that you are already starting to strategize on how you're going to play your game. So keep it up, brother. Seriously. But he did bring up one thing that I definitely want to get people to think about. And Jesse talked about simplicity, like streamlining all of that, right? So when we say that we're trying to make things simple, and this goes to, like what I do every day in real life, trying to help businesses with their user experience to make things more simple, more streamlined, right? I don't know. There's probably a good wide age gap between everybody in the community, but I know for me growing up, it was always being told to think outside of the box. If I wanted to make something innovative, if I want to make something new, I've got to think outside the box. And I think that has become a very cliche type of term that we just loosely throw out there these days. And I feel like there are so many businesses, there are so many people that are always looking outside of the box to try to figure out new innovative ways to make things happen. When in reality, the simplicity comes the second that we can actually work with inside of the box. Once we have that completely down, we expand the box and we keep expanding that box bigger and bigger and bigger. And it makes it so that we don't have to think outside the box. We don't have to do things outside the box to support the things that are going inside of the box. So if you're struggling with trying to wrap your head around where Fusion is, try to step out of that mentality of thinking outside the box and just think inside the box. How does this work? We talked about the boardroom earlier, how simple that is and how streamlined we've made it so that you don't have to go in and claim your EMP from the boardroom. You go in and then do something else with it, right? Go to PancakeSwap and pair it and do all these different things. We've streamlined it and we're keeping everything inside the box. And so I challenge you to just literally take a step back mentally and look at the big picture and start dissecting it that way. And I tell you that you'll be able to find the commonality between it and how we've streamlined it, like Jesse has talked about.
I love it, Cody. Man, I can't even add anything to that. A great way to end the AMA, and it's 100% the truth. I mean, there's been a lot of brain power, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources that went into this and that are going into this. And we're trying to get it as perfect as we can. And I think, once we finally are able to release more, continue to develop the white paper, continue to, again, open that box a little more, to use Cody's terms, I think a lot of you will continue to be more comfortable with what we're doing. So, all right. On that note, again, couldn't have said it any better. So, on behalf of LA, who couldn't make it today, she made sure to send me a DM and tell everybody hello. Cody, thank you for joining me. As always, one of the major architects in Fusion. I think it gives a lot more confidence to people when we can talk about it together. So thanks for being here, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love talking with you.
All right, you too, brother. And again, thanks for some of the OGs that came on the voice chat today. You know, we always try to keep it about an hour, so we haven't had a lot of time for voice interactions. But you know, I think that really adds a lot of positivity and calming of people's expectations when you can hear from other people outside of the team. And again, there's no ulterior motives. We're not here to convince anybody. We're simply here to deliver on everything that we've said we will from day one. And Fusion is just a much better version of all of that moving forward. So, all right, I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. If we did not get to your questions, please join our Discord channel. There is a Fusion questions channel. That is the best way to guarantee that you get your question answered. If not, then just please feel free to type it in the comments or the live chat on YouTube. We go back and look at them before every other AMA. So, and then next week, I will make it an absolute point to try to get a hard answer on the price of batteries and the burning question of when Sacrifice will be live. I think by Monday, we should have a lot more answers. So again, our AMAs are Mondays and Thursdays at 6:45 p.m. Eastern. And all right, I think that's it. I appreciate all of you. Good night, good day. We'll see you on Monday.